let me see if I can pull this off. I have a message to Adam in here, but that's not what the video is about per se. Let me start this way. If a man tells me what God believes, what am I to make of that? Am I supposed to go, well, I don't believe God even exists. This man doesn't know what God thinks if God exists, and God doesn't exist, so I don't listen. Well, the thing is, when a man tells you God believes something, someone believes it. It might not be God, since that's impossible, so it must be someone else. Most often it's what that person believes. I've noticed it's very simple. You know, the Westboro Baptists say God hates fags. It's pretty clear who really hates fags in this situation, isn't it? So when the guy tells me what God believes, I know he's either speaking for himself, a priest or someone he respects, whose opinion he respects more than himself, or of course, with religion it becoming so powerful, they could just be trying to manipulate you, and they're telling you something no one believes. At least no one present. So this commenter, Adam, for those of you that don't read the comments, hi Adam, has been telling me about righteousness and his righteousness. And it's an odd thing. He borrows this language of righteousness, which is clearly talks about the right, the one way, like a righteous reasoning. If 10 people all thought on the same subject righteously, sounds like they wouldn't just come up with their own opinions, they would all come up with the righteous opinion. But maybe he does mean that, maybe he doesn't. And frankly, Adam, I don't think you know which it is. And that's okay. My sympathy for you is that you are somewhat of a mystic, sort of obsessed a bit with what I would call the spiritual side of things. It's confusing. But when you speak of righteousness, and I get you to describe it more and more, you describe your way of thinking. You talk about when you feel this righteousness and your righteousness, and you talk about it like your id, or your ego, or your reason, or your intuition, or any of the many things that can be used by a person to think things through. Right? It's your way of thinking. And seems to me, you call that righteousness for the same reason that a lot of people want to call the way they think God's thoughts. You express some admiration for Gaia. Now, to all of the anti-phantasmagoricals out there, I feel the word Gaia is a perfectly good technical term. It means the earth, but as a living thing. But the earth isn't living, and it's got some living stuff on it. It is living. It's a living system, just like me, just like you, just like a slime mold. It's all the living systems. You can say, oh, but it's not really individual. I'm really closely knit. I'm obviously a tight-knit system. Well, it's pretty tight-knit. I mean, you have a few pounds of bacteria that have no genetic relation in you, symbiotically helping you survive. Gaia as a whole is pretty closely knit. But it doesn't really matter. If it's no more closely knit overall than a slime mold, which actually is technically impossible since it includes things like us. But it's still a living thing. All right. And a lot of the parts of it are not living, the water and the rivers, stone, mountains, those are not living, but they're covered with living things. Just like your body, just like the calcium in your body's not living, the water in your body's not living. But it's all coursing with living things, which, they really dominate the environment. And you can tell the difference between a desert and a forest if you want to see whether the living parts dominate the non-living environments of Earth at large. Sure, some of these living systems have written dictionaries, some haven't. But an ironic thing is that Gaia, as a system, all of Earth, is one of the things that's written dictionaries. Just like Americans have written dictionaries, system of living things. We're part of the whole system. The whole system did produce dictionaries. So, through us. Just like you painted a painting through your hands. So, when I hear you speak of your righteousness, I just hear you glorifying your way of thinking. And when you speak of the facts of the matter and things to be studied more, you say they should be studied, you should look into things. And but I swear to God, you already feel righteous. You have told me already you have this righteous experience. You've said it in a way that it doesn't come on all the time. No. You're describing some sort of thought you like to have, a thought that feels clear. And it may be clear, but I don't think you're aiding that clarity at all if you promote it to a righteousness. And when you talk about it, I hear just the way you're thinking. And I see that you think that Gaia is the anti-system. No, it's very, very closely knit, my friend. Symbiosis all around, even among adversaries especially. It's a symbiosis among traditional, an animal that preys on another kind of animal, and that animal tries to flee that predator for millions of years. A check and balances, which is sort of the most brutal and the last resort of nature, seen commonly because nature resorts to the last a lot. To me, the philosophy of art really rules all. I presented my skepticism, which I have gone through over all my ideas with the criterion of statistical consistency. That's the hallmark of material facts as opposed to just sensory experiences. And, I've set that up. That's what relativistic skepticism is. But really, for my life, my whole thing, my base philosophy is a philosophy of art, because art is the ultimate language. It is what the human mind is all about. It's the language of dreams, right? Dreams we have when we're sleeping, dreams we don't know are dreams while we're awake because they're so dominated by the lights and sounds that other people hear. We don't understand that we recreate a dream out of all of that. And in dreams, clouds can have faces in them, trees can mean something else, a river can mean something else. It's the language of symbols, moving back and forth. Refining information. It could lead us astray, and that information gets refined in a manipulative, wrong way. It's not perfect. But it's more flexible than systems like math. Math is sort of there to say, well, once you get the information into the system, math itself will not corrupt it further, and then you can get it out. There's corruption turning your problem into a math problem, turning the word problem into the actual math problem. There's problems interpreting it at the end. But the math itself is supposed to be pure. Well, artistic metaphor is not so pure as that. It introduces meaning all along the way. The means, the argument, changes. The order matters. In classical proof, theoretically, it doesn't matter what order you do it. It's sort of timeless. Where the logic of art, right? And there's an infinite number of contradictory logics of art, but it's any logic that is using this mapping. It has the advantage of being how people really think. We have no other way to think. We think of metaphors. Wakefulness is no cure to that. Really well-evolved eyes that do a good job of correcting all the spatial distortions and stuff that you would get, like if a computer had these two eyes and it would be difficult. We do a good job of that. We see a lot of things that we can confirm with our fellow person. Still, the way we really think is in symbols. And when we see a real building, when we see a giant, grand architecture like the Capitol building, we react to that just like if we saw something like that in a dream, and it means something else to us. And artists are best at catching, well, what is that meaning? What's that meaning in between the obvious moments? In between the light flashing on, when the strobe light's off, and it seems like it's dark and no information. That's when you really see your own ideas. And we train ourselves not to look in there. The study of physics to me is entirely the study of the natural system. It's the bottom, most simplest part of our investigation into what really is just a study of the living system of Earth and how it all works. And right now we're in an amazing place. We have an understanding that obviously the quantum physics has explained chemistry well enough that we're starting to get how biology can fit into this. You know, it's not going to be that a mathematical system is going to apply itself all the way up, because even math isn't really a mathematical system. It's made to act a certain way, as if it was this idealized thing. But many have found the errors and the flaws in that simulation, as good as it is, as useful as it is. So I say that it's really the logic of metaphors all the way up. And there's a good book, Where Mathematics Comes From, that talks about how mathematics is very much based in metaphors taken from things the body understands. Containers, right? Picking fruit and getting a greater number. Measuring angles between stars. These are all spatial, real things that led to that. So, to you in particular, Adam, I suggest you go make a deep study. Here's what, if I was really trying to get you to do a particular thing, it would be this. Go forth to a monastery. A monastery you build yourself. And there at your monastery, sort through all the metaphors of nature, not things you think you know. Not like what the ocean's like because what you remember from being taught ocean science in high school. But around your monastery, go out there, watch the ants do their business. Sit all day in the meadow and watch the bees do their business. You know, look at the river. Go up and down the river and see that some parts are a little bit deserted and some parts are thick. Learn the character of that system. How does it keep running just in one direction forever? It's amazing. Because the river's in the sky too. That's why. All that river coming down is up in the sky going to where it has to get to come down. It's a cycle. And study those for 10 years in your monastery. Cheers.